In terms of my father, you know, the Neal clan was always like a proud group of people, you know. My father was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and he left that aspect of the family. I have cousins in Cleveland, I don't even know. He left that aspect of the family and came here with his father, of course, and mother. And my mother, I mean, his mother was from here. In fact, she was from the Shavli area at that time, but I mean, before that time. But the point is that they were strong in their own communities, and they were on the cutting edge. For instance, my grandfather was one of the first individuals to turn from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. And people in the community didn't appreciate that necessarily. But he had already seen where the Republican Party, in his estimation at the time, had abandoned the interests of the black community, so he was on the forefront of that sort of thing, for instance. Or if you look at some of my uncles and so forth, if they were intimidated on the issue of race or were confronted on that, it wasn't a question about how they were going to react or respond to that, at least as the stories are told to me. Historically, they dealt with it right on the spot. They didn't care whether you was white, black, green, or yellow. That's the way it was going to be. So it came out of a strong group and a strong-willed group of people. On my grandmother's side, she was just as willful in terms of what she did. So we was all very close in the family in terms of our grandparents, in terms of our parents and so forth. It was a close-knit family in that particular regard. I think we just came up in that. Right? We didn't think about, you know, you take something off of somebody, for instance, because they had a racial slur or something. I remember getting put out of school at Manley Junior High School because I was called a racial slur. In the first day of school, I remember very much so. I remember when I first integrated, I was part of the integrating class in the 6th grade at Strath Elementary School, that the instructor, the teacher there, began to isolate some of the black students, and my father directly going in there. And I can't tell you everything he said because I don't know everything he said, but I got to tell you, that stopped really quick. But it happened also when I was at Phyllis Wheatley School before that, and he forbade anyone to strike us. So you couldn't paddle us, you couldn't do that, and that's something. They never whipped us. We never had whippings. We don't tap, something like that. Because what they would do, they would engage us, and you couldn't escape it. And boy, you should have seen my father's eye when he put it on you. You felt like you had been whipped. You knew what the parameters were, and we rarely strayed outside of that. So it was a situation from a family standpoint that through the years, I think you found strong people, and the stories that were generated in the family where you had images of strong people who didn't bend their back, that stood up and would take the consequences, but wouldn't take it laying down. And that's always been the story on that side of the family.